Hey guys, it's Sarah from Just My Typewriter, and I'm back with another cleaning testing video. Cleaning testing project? I'm testing another cleaner. So I clean quite a few typewriters here on this channel, and it's actually one of my favorite parts of getting a new typewriter, the cleaning process, not so much the repair process. I really like methodically going through and cleaning a typewriter, all of the insides and the external panels. And I've tried quite a few different cleaners on all of my typewriters to find just the right cleaner. My go-to for a really long time has been Simple Green. I used that to clean off some typewriter keys that had been off-gassing for a while, and I found it to be really effective. So I've kind of talked about it a lot on this channel, but Simple Green is not available all over the place, and it can be kind of expensive in some places. So I'm on the quest to find a good cleaner that works for everybody. I've tried Scrubbing Bubbles, I've tried LA's Totally Awesome Cleaner, I've tried Soap and Water, and I've tried Car Wax, and now today I'm testing Method Cleaner. So this product was actually recommended to me by someone who wanted to see how it went, because I think she said it was available in the UK. So this is Method Daily Shower Spray in Eucalyptus Mint. It is a plant-based cleaning product, which is a little bit different than anything else we've tried here on this channel. So having this new cleaner, I did want to put it through a couple of tests to see how it would perform as a typewriter cleaner. The first thing I did was compare it to the other cleaners I have in my growing cleaning collection based on its spraying power. So I tested this spray nozzle of Method Cleaner against Scrubbing Bubbles and Simple Green to see how it just appeared when you spray it out of the bottle. Now Scrubbing Bubbles, immediately after you spray it, comes out as a foam, hence the name Scrubbing Bubbles. Simple Green comes out in a little bit more of a traditional spray, like wet pattern, and this was somewhere in between those. It has a little bit of a bubbly foam to it as you start using it, which I think is a little bit interesting, and it does kind of put it in between the two products I've used before. I also wanted to test its effectiveness at just cleaning in general, so I set up another coffee ground test in my bathtub, because I do that a lot now, I guess. So I did put some coffee grounds and some coffee in the bottom of my bathtub, and then I put the three cleaners I was testing, Simple Green, Scrubbing Bubbles, and Method Cleaner, next to each other. I gave them all a couple of sprays and I let it sit. Then I went in with a paper towel and did a one swipe test to see how much I could pick up using that cleaner and how much it would go through the process of actually breaking down some of the dirt on the surface of the bottom of the shower. So as you can see here in this very scientific test, I found that Scrubbing Bubbles was actually the most effective. That's the one in the middle. It seemed to pick up the most with just one swipe. As I went through the other cleaners, I think that Method probably falls as second most effective. It took away all of the little streaks that I had of just coffee and coffee grounds in the bottom of the shower. So I found that to be probably middle ground between that and Simple Green. Simple Green did take away, again, coffee grounds and coffee, but it was a little bit gentler than the other two sprays that I was testing in this portion of the exam test battle royale. So once I proved it could effectively clean a bathtub, I decided the next thing to do was actually test it on a typewriter. So I picked one of the typewriters in my collection. This is my Electra 120. I've had this since the very beginning. This was my grandfather's machine, and my mom actually learned to type on this typewriter. I've had it for a really long time, and I've just never cleaned it. I don't know why. Probably because it's an electric and I find that a little bit intimidating. I started by air compressing this typewriter, and I did a whole separate video on the handheld portable air compressor I used to clean this machine. I'll include that link down below. But then I went in with Method Cleaner, and I started on the case because the case was pretty dirty, and it's also very low stakes. Once you go in there, you're not going to mess anything up on a case. So I divvied up the case in half, and I sprayed half of it with Method Cleaner, and I sprayed the other half with Simple Green. Now, I was pretty surprised actually using this on the case itself, because when you spray them out of the bottle, this looks pretty similar to Simple Green, but as you start using it, Method actually starts to foam up a little bit and bubble. And what I found is that really gets into the nooks and crannies on the textured surfaces of specifically the plastic case I was cleaning. Simple Green, still effective, but I found it to be a little less effective at getting some of the dirt out of those nooks and crannies, and I think that's where the foaming really comes in handy. So I compared the two cleaners here. I found Method to be a lot more effective, so then I went and cleaned the rest of the case with Method Cleaner. I did want to try Method Cleaner on the actual typewriter itself. Now, Now, I always recommend anytime you are using a cleaner, even if it's one you're super familiar with, that you patch test before you apply a cleaner to your typewriter. This is just going to help prevent any bubbling, removing of paint, discoloration. What I do for a patch test is I will take a little Q-tip, I'll spray the cleaner on it, and I will rub it in an inconspicuous location on the typewriter just to see what it does. And I find this helps me prevent any mistakes happening when using a new cleaner. You don't want to spray a cleaner on your typewriter blindly, hope for the best, and something bad could happen. So I do recommend that you patch test every cleaner you try, even ones that you've used before on other machines. I patch test Simple Green before I use it on any machine, just in case something goes wrong. Some people have mentioned that Simple Green is not great on shiny surface machines, and it doesn't always work on different models that I haven't tested it on before, so patch test, patch test, patch test. If you learn nothing from this video, patch test. So after I conducted a patch test and it seemed to work okay, I went in and used Method Cleaner on the rest of the panels. Now they weren't super dirty, they weren't super discolored, they just needed a quick little cleaning. What I did like about this is there was no residue left behind, it wasn't sticky. No rinsing required as stated on the bottle, so I did really like that. I would spray Method Cleaner on a cloth, scrub it onto the surface of the machine, and it seemed to work out pretty well. And then I put the Electra 120 back together, and it still worked, which is good. Another thing I've had trouble with cleaners before is actually how effective or how powerful they are around decals and painted logos or labeling on a machine. So I actually cleaned a Skywriter from the 1960s for a typewriter lamp project I was doing. I'll include that video down below. And I tested LA's Totally Awesome Cleaner, which is at the Dollar Tree, so it's pretty accessible and it's also pretty cheap. But what I found was any spray of LA's Totally Awesome Cleaner on the painted labeling of this machine actually removed the paint from the surface of the machine. And if you're cleaning a typewriter, you don't want to be removing any of the logos, labeling, or decals from the machine. I also tested Simple Green on that same typewriter, and it also started to dissolve some of the paint, so I wanted to try Method Cleaner on a painted surface like that to see if it would wear away at a decal or a painted logo. So I took the paper tray from that little typewriter lamp project I had it in a parts bag. I sprayed a little bit of Method Cleaner on a Q-tip, and then I went in and scrubbed that Q-tip over the painted surface of the paper tray to see if it would remove any of the logo or labeling that was on that machine previously. Now, some of this logo was removed from using LA's Totally Awesome Cleaner, just overspray that it removed it. But what I found with Method Cleaner is if you wipe it away fast enough, it doesn't seem to dissolve too much of the painted logo or decal. Now again, that can totally depend on the paint being used, the concentration of the cleaner, the type of cleaner it is, how long it's left on there. But if you accidentally spray a little bit of Method Cleaner on a painted logo or a decal, you might be okay, which is really important because it can be kind of hard to keep all the cleaner contained to a certain area. So if you get a little overspray, you're probably going to be okay. In general, looking at these cleaners, I think this cleaner falls somewhere in between Scrubbing Bubbles and Simple Green. Scrubbing Bubbles is pretty powerful. I was actually worried about using it on the typewriter that I did clean with it, and that was the Smith Corona Super Silent Super, my green machine. It had some paint damage on it already, so I was worried about going in and agitating that more with a toothbrush and some foaming bubbles. It did clean pretty well, and again, all of these cleaners are bleach free. Don't put bleach on your typewriter, it'll ruin it. But I found that that was probably a little too strong for my liking. Maybe really good for a really cruddy project, but not something I want to use when I'm just trying to slightly clean off a dusty typewriter. Simple Green is tried and true, for me at least. I've cleaned machines with Simple Green a few years ago and they still look okay now, which is able to test the longevity of how clean they stay. Some of these other cleaners, I haven't had machines in my collection long enough to know how the cleaning holds up, but for Simple Green, I found it to be pretty effective over time, but it is pretty diluted. Now you can get concentrated versions or you can get the non-concentrated versions and you can dilute them in any way that you choose. I've tried both. I found it to be effective, but not crazy strong, remove all the paint stripper type of cleaner. So it is kind of on the gentler side of the spectrum, which is why I prefer using it. This falls in the middle. I do really like that it foams up. I think that that seems to be way more effective at getting into those textured surfaces, which is something I found a lot on Smith Coronas or cases that I have to clean in. So the foaming on this I really like. It doesn't seem to leave a sticky residue, which again is a thing that I'm concerned about on typewriters. You don't want anything sticky on your typewriter. So I think think that this falls in the middle and is a pretty effective cleaner and is probably more widely available than some of the other ones I've tried on this channel before. One of my favorite things to do is really to clean those machines and see the before and afters. I just love that. It's so satisfying to me. So I always like testing out new cleaners, and hopefully we will find the perfect cleaner that'll work for all surfaces. Now, I didn't test this on a shiny surface machine. For those shiny, glossy black finish machines, I typically use car wax or WD-40 to clean those surfaces. It shines them better than using a spray cleaner. Spray cleaner might cloudy up that finish. So make sure you're thinking about the finish of your machine, you're patch testing it, and you're careful around logos and decals. If you are cleaning a typewriter, I'll include some links to some videos down below, including my Typewriter 101 cleaning guide video. That's kind of like the crash course in how do I clean the typewriter, and I've used all of those tips and tricks for a really long time. Well, really long is kind of relative. I've used them for 4 years, and they seem to keep working for me. So if you're cleaning a typewriter, I encourage you to check out that guide. If you're interested in more typewriter content, I do have some other videos on this YouTube channel, as well as on Instagram at just.my.typewriter. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and remind you, you're just my typewriter.